Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
excited.
Well, I was actually really interested here in the reporting gnomes title, and I heard it had something to do with a an animated series.
Yeah, I'll explain the reference. Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. So, quick introduction. Will's pretty much a Tableau evangelist throughout professional and personal life. You're really involved in the community. Also, you're kind of a superhero, man. You're trying to save the world and really do it all one dashboard at a time, which is pretty fun and exciting. Also, I hear you're a diehard FC Dallas fan. There we
Yes.
go. All right, cool, cool. And also another one most people may not know, and I didn't know either, was that you know how to speak Portuguese.
I do. I do.
Did not know that. Did not
Yeah,
know that.
Rodrigo wanted me to do the whole thing in Portuguese, and that's not fair for everybody else. So
But for Rodrigo though,
yeah.
well, excellent. Well, with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand over presenting duties to Will.
All
Uh,
right.
Anna, thanks so much for presenting, and Will, you're on.
All right. Can everybody see my screen? Good. All right. I got thumbs up. I'm gonna minimize the my image here so I don't get distracted. So thank you, Caesar, for for the introduction. You and Emily just putting this together is a phenomenal gift to the community that I don't know if a lot of people can truly understand or truly appreciate it. But so what I'm going to be discussing today is dealing with those annoying reporting gnomes, those pesky creatures that are taking over our lives. So how can you learn to live with and maybe even help them evolve, right? But before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping, right? So let me click over here. All right. So why are you here, right? So one, you want to learn about Tableau in general, right? You're trying to figure out how to trying to improve your skill sets. Free registration, right? It's a lot cheaper than the actual Tableau conference. And also for your giveaways. I don't want to disappoint you on that. I do virtual high fives. So if you want high fives, done. So a little bit about myself. Personally, I am a proud native Texan. I don't have a crazy story like a lot of people I've met out at the conference and I talked to through the community, where my range in life has been about a 30-mile radius. I am married to an amazing wife, and my son, is about a year and a half old now. I don't know if my wife is watching. She said she was going to tune in. So hi. I consider myself a polyglot. I was super fortunate to be raised in a family that when I was born, we had three languages going on in the house. We had English, Texan, and sarcasm. In my early 20s, I added Portuguese to that mix. So, I am a polyglot. And as Caesar said, I am a diehard SC Dallas fan. Dallas till I die. Now, professionally, I put in here, I am a former bartender and waiter. I had to put that in there because my wife always makes fun of me for saying that, but it'll make a little bit more sense once we go into this a little bit further. But I also use it as a way to show people you don't have to be formally trained in what we do in data analytics. You don't have to have a master's degree or whatever, right? Anybody and anywhere can learn this stuff. I've been in the financial services for 8 years. And I really got to where I am. I grew my roles through my inquisitive nature, my ability to be efficiently lazy, which stems from my restaurant days. You learn how to do as much work as possible with as little work as possible. I've been at Chase for a little over 5 years. I've been using Tableau for about 4 years. Prior to using Tableau, I knew zero about data visualization software, BI tools, whatever. My first Tableau conference was actually 2016, and I didn't know the difference between Domo and Tableau. Now, I didn't go to the Domo event, but I was like, it's just another BI tool. How different can these things be? But going to that conference, that is where I was actually introduced to the community. And everything that I have learned going forward about data visualization has been from the wealth of information from the community in and of itself. I want to make sure I've got a lot of I like to talk, and I'm trying to cover this. So, so anyways, events like Fringe Fest, blogs, Twitter, YouTube. You guys have done so much to help me get to where I am, and I try to get that back to our community. I'm a data visualization manager here at Chase. I don't manage anybody, so I guess I manage data visualization. And my evangelism for Tableau really has spread through the community here. We started in the Dallas office here. Myself and a couple other guys got together, and we started a local tub within our campus because we wanted it for mobility, networking, training. We really wanted to enhance that culture even more locally for Tableau. So I've even been fortunate in my role to train people throughout the world on Tableau. I've done trainings for EMEA, for Hong Kong, trying to edge my way into doing trainings on site in Brazil in one of our offices, but you know, that to be determined. So, so who can benefit from this topic? People who are intermediate users, you have a couple of these that you don't need. And even people who are advanced users, you know, that's people's reactions when they see your visualization, right? So this is a holistic topic, and it's not geared for any one individual.
Hey, Will, we're having mic issues right now coming through on the audio.
Uh-oh.
Okay, it sounds better now. Sounds so much better now. Yeah.
I took one step forward. Okay.
There, it might be the distance. Cool.
Okay.
Even though everyone on the chat
GIFs
saying
or GIFs.
it's the GIFs. Everyone on the chat saying it's every time a GIF comes on, it kills your audio.
Dang it! All right.
But it sounds better now that you've stepped forward. So let's give that give that a go.
There are so many variables. Right. We need some statistics to help us with.
I know.
Thanks, Will.
Dang internet! It can only go so fast. So what do I say when I mean reporting Gnomes? Well, first let me give you the idea of where I got this this idea. So it started with South Park, and they had an episode where they had the Underpants Gnomes, and the Underpants Gnomes had a very sophisticated business model. And when the kids finally discovered who was stealing their underpants, they said, "Hey, why are you stealing our underpants?" Simple business model. Step one, or phase one, collect underpants. Phase two, phase three, profit. Right? So they couldn't explain what it was they were going to do with the underpants in order to make profit, but they knew they were stealing underpants and they're going to make profit. Right? So at the end of the day, when we come into the job environment, we need.
Well, it's happening again.
Dang it! Any better?
Oh, so much better now. It just stopped.
It could be that transition. I don't know, man. This is fun. All right, so reporting Gnomes. From the reporting Gnomes perspective, we deal with these people daily, right? Phase one, business requirements. Phase two, phase three, badass visualization. I mean, insightful and actionable dashboard. That's what we're trying to do, right? So whenever we meet these people, it's just put it in Tableau. It'll work, right? How many of you guys hear that phrase? It's a common catchphrase for reporting. So how do you react to the scenario? Well, between the mixed feelings of, yay, I'll be using Tableau, and how do they expect me to be successful with just that, lies the answer. So at the end of the day, dealing with these reporting Gnomes really just comes down to us as individuals. So how do we do it? Well, step one, you really need to build a domain knowledge, right? You're going to learn that everyone has the same problems. The thing that has really helped me in my career progression was being able to strip away all of the details of what exactly this one problem is and look at it on a more holistic perspective. So no matter what the industry is, we're all trying to solve the same thing. So when I was a waiter, you know, they want to know how many customers are coming in. Are we going to be busy tonight? Are there seasonal trends? It's the same thing in the business world, right? So learn how to make those problems make sense to you, right? And if you can't figure out an analogy, just use widgets, right? Everyone can understand the concept of a widget. A widget doesn't exist, it's just a thing, right? That goes into figuring out how to make things make sense. You use your experience, use your knowledge to create the known out of the unknown, right? So you need to understand, right? You got to this position somehow, because of your skill set, your knowledge, people trusted you, show that knowledge off, right? So when someone says, well, how about how is it statistically accurate? Well, I learned from Anna that, this is statistically accurate. Look at the stuff, right? So it makes sense. And then start thinking as you're building that domain knowledge, think data, think reporting, and then think Tableau. So where's the data come from? How is this stuff coming to me, right? And then from the reporting aspect, how can I make this make sense?
It's coming back again. You may want to try doing something that cuts down your bandwidth a little bit, like maybe turn off your camera. And let's see if that helps.
All right, let me see.
If you just
yeah,
be right next to the
stop
video.
video.
Yep, there you go. Cool.
Is this better? Can you hear me?
So far, so good. So let's hopefully this works.
All right, so let me go back to this one slide. It's unfortunate, man.
Oh, those gnomes. It's the gnomes.
I know, it's the gnomes, man. This is what happens when I'm on a 56K modem, guys. I apologize. So think about data, think about reporting in Tableau, is understanding where does the data come from? How can I make this make sense from a reporting perspective? What's important for my end users? And then how can I put that into Tableau, right? So get a lay of the land from a data perspective, make your comments, write all that stuff down as you start learning. This group is not using the data correctly. Why is that? Research that. Figure out why does this not make sense? And then it's a wash, rinse, and repeat perspective, right? To get that lay of the land. Your second step is to build your data brand. So when I talk about a data brand, it's how can people trust you, right? So you want to make sure that you're engaged, ask questions. When things don't make sense, speak up, because if it doesn't make sense to you, you can't be successful in your job, your role. And probably it might not make sense to somebody else. They may just have that assumption that this is what it is without questioning it, or they could be so entrenched in the role they don't look at it another way, right? So experiment with things to circulate new ideas. You have a new visualization that you think is going to tell this story much better than the way that it's been done that they hadn't thought about, right? Start setting standards for quality. Don't just be churning out new reports because they're constantly coming in. Make sure that what you're doing is telling the right story and getting the point across to where we can have people focusing, seeing their data quicker, faster, and more efficiently. Take pride in what you do, own it, and don't accept anything less. Work hard. And then also taking on extra side projects can really help this out as well, because sometimes there are things that you just have zero control over. You have to put it in this particular format because this is the exact way that it needs to go. And it's not something that you want to die on the sword on. So you accept that you can't change that one particular thing. But when you start taking on extra side projects, you can expand your abilities. You can show more people what you can do. And it also gives you, from a mobility perspective, it really helps. But it also helps you show from an outside perspective, like, oh, I can rethink my data this way, right? It gets you out of that repetitive rut. Then we have what I like to talk about is a reporting partnership, or building a partnership and becoming a reporting concierge. To me, this is something I really, really encourage people on professionally, to say, don't just churn out these reports. You're not a Burger King cashier, right? People just can't have things their way. They should be coming to you as a data developer, as a visualization developer, and you help them get to the solution that they're looking for. So like at a concierge, when you travel, you go in to the concierge and say, I want to go to this steak place tonight at 7 o'clock. It's the best restaurant in town. Get me a reservation. And the concierge is going to say, well, good luck. Everyone else wants a reservation at 7 o'clock at this place. But here are the options. So, you can show up and sit in the bar at maybe 9 o'clock, because then it's a lot slower. You probably get service around that time. But the concierge helps guide that. So where you go and say, I'm looking for a really good steak place. I want it to be local. I don't want a chain. I'm hungry around 7, 8 o'clock, and I've got this many people coming with me. Then the concierge can really guide that experience for that end user. And, lead them to those right solutions, right? Doing that helps build confidence in yourself beyond what you already had. You know, as I said earlier, you got to your job, you got to that position because of your skills, your abilities, your knowledge. You know, own that. Whenever you know something, say it. You know, be proud. You know what you know, but also be confident that you know what you don't know. And it's okay to say you don't know this answer, but you're willing to go find out. Never stop learning anything new. It's something that I've you know, being on Twitter and seeing all these amazing people that are active in the community, constantly asking questions. Has anybody, you know, hit this roadblock? Is something that, and you're talking about Tableau Zen masters, the people that you look up to from a data development perspective or visualization perspective. They're always asking, hey, how about this? Or, you know, has anyone encountered this issue? So never stop learning. And then also, don't be scared to say no. As I said earlier, there are going to be those times where it really could be a bad thing to say no. So those are I would say, the exceptions. But dealing with stakeholders is just like negotiation. You know, you don't have to be the one that always caves. You can let that person cave too. Go back and forth, explain why this is better than the other, right? Why if they say it's just because, if they can't explain just because, if they can't explain the value add for a particular item, it's okay to say that's not a value add, that's a waste of our time. Let's focus on what's important. And just because they're up the food chain doesn't mean that they're always right. We're all humans, we're all learning, we're all trying to make sense of what, you know, this world around us. So title doesn't necessarily mean that it's knowledge. So in my closing thoughts, I'm not as good as I'm gonna get, but I'm better than I used to be. Right. So from the famous words of Tim McGraw, you know, just remember it's an evolutionary process. You're constantly moving forward. You're constantly learning something new that you didn't know yesterday, that now you can start saying, well, I was doing it this way, now I'm doing it another. Right now we need to start kind of going over this direction. I mean, if I would have stopped at where my data development was back in 2016, I definitely would not be in the same position I am now. I definitely would not have the ability to participate in events like this, because I wouldn't know it existed, because I figured I knew everything. I was on the top of Mount Stupid from the Dunning-Kruger curve. So know that you're constantly evolving, and you know, how can we help others evolve with us is the key to this. So thank you very much. I try to give some time for questions and answers. I know I said it's about 20 minutes, right? So got time for questions. Oops. Let's see. See if there anybody, or let me.
Not much. We had a comment from Rodrigo saying it really resonates with him, and he was just saying that his entry into the Tableau world was more. It was going beyond the requirements of just send me the Excel request. So definitely resonated well. Sorry about your audio. It actually came through crystal clear as soon as we cut down the bandwidth a bit, but. Oh well, it's kind of the downsides of Wi-Fi, I guess. But yeah. Leaving it open. We got a question here from Robert, and so he's saying, at a company like Chase, how do you deal with stakeholders that are a few positions above you? So really talking to leadership, or sometimes the bosses of stakeholders, more in that hierarchy.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to all of those steps. You know, bringing that domain knowledge so you can speak truly to what it is that you're talking about. Understanding your confidence. You know, people come to you for a reason. You're a data developer for a reason, right? You're in that role. You got hired. Whether you're a Tableau expert or not doesn't mean anything. You got hired to that role for a reason. So that in itself brings credibility. So just being true to who you are and, you know, what it is. I mean, stand your ground on a lot of those things. I mean, it's tough. It is tough, and I don't want to make it sound like every phone call I have the exact same response to every person, because you gotta change your message per person. But I see a lot of these faces when I'm talking to those developers that struggle with that communication, and I'm like, well, just tell them don't do this. And it's the same look every time. Like, I have tried so hard. And what I've even done is said, hey, you want to get me involved as a disinterested third party, and just say, hey, I invited Will to this meeting so that way he can provide some feedback, right? Sometimes you just need somebody else to say, yep, that's really how it needs to be. Like, you're going down the wrong path. You shouldn't have a pie chart with over 3,000 slices. That doesn't make sense.
Very much so. Very true. Very true. Sometimes even just the illustration of success that have come from other projects too can help out as
Exactly.
well. So it really just being able to add that little bit of element to it too. We got a couple more questions coming through. Uh, Rodrigo's asking any tips on how to break management resistant on being data driven. So he says a real data driven organization. More
Yeah,
of the send me the Excel versus the true data driven org.
a lot of time, I mean, when I deal with people, they say, just show me the numbers. I say, what do you think drew this chart? Those are numbers. I show them how they can hover over it. They can interact. They can drill down if we've got that capability. They've got ability to dig further, ask more questions, and get quicker insights than if I just showed them, here is your data dump. You can't see the exact same thing that you're asking those questions that you can with this one dashboard. And that a lot of times, not all the time, it is an evolutionary process. A lot of times they say they will accept, okay, well, I guess that's easier, but I have ability to get to my data. Yes, you can download if you need it, but here are the questions that you need. I've even suggested within the firm, it's not a very popular idea. I've suggested for us to auto disable download data from the server, because there are groups within multiple organizations, not just Chase specific. But there are organizations where they just use Tableau as a data pass through. Someone can't get access to this data, but they have access to that report, and they just download it and do their own black box reporting. And that's not acceptable, right? You lose out on a calculation that could be critical to the business. That changes, on this end, and you can't trace it back, right?
Right on. Yeah, yeah. No. Another question from Robert. When you were first starting out in Tableau, how'd you get past that feeling of not being good enough, especially when you see so many beautiful and amazing things being done in the community? And it's a tough one too.
I try not to compare myself to other people on that aspect. I see beautiful things, and I try and figure out how can I recreate that, recreate that or use that as a template, cookie cut. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to make sure that what I produce today is better than what I produced yesterday. I am evolving, and that's where I'm really wanting to drive towards is am I a better better developer, better user, etc.
Yeah, it's always a tough one too, because it's funny because I actually see the opposite sometimes, where people feel like they're better than they really are once they kind of get their Tableau license and they start building things, and they're really proud of what they've built. But sometimes you have to go through and let them know, well, it's good, but it's still not as groundbreaking as you think it might be.
Yeah, I've we've got an amazing process here in the firm that was talked about at conference, where we've got a skill belts section, and it's amazing seeing some people who are Tableau developers that have been developing crosstabs their entire career, and they don't know better, but they're so entrenched. I've been using Tableau for this time, and seeing their evolution through that process, where it's kind of like all these light bulb moments of getting that feedback from others, getting that feedback from people they trust, and say, I like where you're going, but this isn't showing me that story. And then you even have the inverse, where people who have never touched the tool within just a couple months are amazing storytellers, right? So I see a breadth of users, and a lot of times it does kind of go back to that feedback. Like, they're at the top of Mount Stupid from the Dunning-Kruger, and then it's not that you want to knock them off. You want to help guide them down to, let's go back to where you're here and let's start learning, right?
Very good. I guess segueing into our next question is, how did you go about mastering calculations?
Um, I look at everything like a problem, right? So how can I break it down? There's only so many pieces to a puzzle that I'm trying to solve. So for example, one of the things that I love to do is I saw Luke do something similar to what I've done for for a while when it comes to like KPIs, right? So when it comes, table calculations are so easy, right? So I'm looking at like month over month calculation, and I've got, month one, month two, and I want to show how did it change month over month, but I don't care about the prior month at that point. So, you can hide the prior month, but that prior month, you're hiding that value, right? I'm hiding October, and then I'm only showing November. Well, next month when December data is ready, I'm still showing November, right? So then I start looking at it holistically, what doesn't change. And if I have a knowledge of what current month is, I just put a fixed calculation, max date, whatever, and then I do my date diff between months, so I hide -1. So anytime the data updates, 0 is always there. It will show the most current information. So it's like, breaking things down. So like I'm ready for end of year. Like when 2020 hits, all of my reports that have year-over-year calculations, line colors, etc. I don't have to worry about it because the line colors are all based on 0, 1, 2, 3. Uh, it works. It's easy. So figuring out how those pieces kind of fit together. A lot of YouTube time. A lot of YouTube time. When I first went to conference in 2016, I had no idea what LODs were. We were so far behind in Chase architecture. Like we were on version 8.x and Tableau was releasing 10.1, I believe. So I knew nothing about LOD. So I can't tell you how many hours of YouTube I spent.
It's life in the financial world. It seems to work. It seems to run a little slower than everything else too. Let's see. There's a couple other questions. How did you manage the stakeholders that are too data driven, the ones that are always looking for more?
Basically, in a way to say, what is it that you're trying to do? What is your story? How I try and get in their heads, and sometimes I try to be proactive and what it is that I can prepare for them. If someone wants to know, well, how many people, show me how many widgets I've produced. A lot of times they say this, but they don't have any context that they add. So I add context to that. If there's different variations of widgets, maybe I throw that in and say, okay, well, look at these additional items. Have you thought about that? All right. So it's trying to be proactive on that aspect. But man, if somebody is too data driven and they just want more and more Tableau reporting, I love it, right? Because that means they're engaged. They're using what it is that we're producing, right? It's the people that say, give me this Tableau report, and you never hear from them again. If I haven't changed the report in a year, how efficient is that for the business? Because that means they're not really asking questions. They're not driving changes. So I prefer those other people. Knock on my door all day long.
It always seems like the best dashboards keep evolving. There's a deeper question that's being asked, and you're
Yep.
always kind of iterating into that. Another question too is any of I guess tips on resources or training that you felt made you better on your path of becoming really good at this.
Twitter, YouTube, blogs. Like this community, this is one thing that I'm super passionate about, and it's not just Tableau. I love the tool. I'm tool agnostic when it comes to how to visualize the data. Tableau is like the best tool that I have come up with. If there's another tool that came out tomorrow that was better, easier, faster, whatever than Tableau, I'd love to check it out. But the thing that really amazes me is Tableau's community and how willing so many people are to share their knowledge through events like this, through the conference, through just YouTube videos, just starting up their own channel and saying, okay, well, here's how I solved this workout Wednesday. It's nothing like I've ever seen before, and it's truly amazing.
It's incredible when you talk to people who've they've kind of had different they've worked with different software, different technology paths. They really have been around quite a while. They'll tell you they've never seen a community like the Tableau community. And it's true. I was telling somebody the other day, it's rare that you can go out and just post a problem on Twitter, and within a couple minutes have 3 good answers, and within an hour have 3 excellent answers. Really, it's incredible. Just kind of what will happen just by asking the community.
Yeah, and to even add on to that, it's not just asking those questions, those resources. But this knowledge sharing is helping evolve so many people in their career paths, that if you deal with other tools, while there may be some blogs or things like that, it's a lot easier to help somebody get ahead. And it's not like the trolls at the bridge, right? You can only get past if you answer these questions 3. People are so open, they're just giving, you know.
We were always joking that we created a kind of an intro to Tableau, a beginner's course, and an intermediate course, but we never got to the advanced course, because by the time people got to the advanced level, they'd gotten promoted, or they'd moved into a better position. So it was always interesting to see that, where it's like, man, we can't keep people doing this, because they really do. It breeds a lot of success in the organization too. So, other questions. Where did you get the cool shirt?
My wife made it for me, actually.
Oh, she rocks. She rocks. Yeah, I think Rodrigo was asking, are you drinking after the TFF?
What do you think is in the coffee?
I won't say anything. Is there data that doesn't lend itself well to Tableau to create a viz?
That's such a subjective question, right? There are formats that are tough. Like if someone hands you a pivot table and says, put this in there and all your dates are columns, you have to do some data transformation in order to make it make sense if you want it to be repeatable, or if it's just a one-time ask, just throw it in there and do what you need to do for that one time, the one and done business. But I don't know, like, trying to think of something that I've seen that doesn't lend itself well to Tableau.
I've seen just data sets that tend to be very verbose, where you have just fields with 700 words, and that tends to it's really hard to visualize without some data prep beforehand. Yeah, exactly. It's not that it's impossible, it's just that it becomes very difficult. We work with I've worked with attorneys that have a lot of notes and things that they want to start. Yes, yes, but it's a tough one. Let's see, what else is there. They're mostly just comments. People are saying that you have a very nice wife.
That's my wife self-promoting, actually. She did tune in.
Well, oh yes, there we go. Yep. Where did you find such a nice person? Excellent. Well, great. I see Bonnie is queuing up, and we're pretty much right on schedule too. Will, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great. I think the community really got a kick out of this. And a lot of engagement. I saw Anna joking or laughing about the South Park reference, which the other day I was wondering, is South Park too old now? Can I make South Park jokes anymore?
Of course. The kids don't understand.
True. I haven't been aged out of that yet. So, well, good. Well, thank you so much, Will. And definitely stick around. We've got really Bonnie coming up right now. So yeah, thanks.